KHS-TV students who are helping us today. We have with us the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Padalino, and one of our KHS-TV members, Sam Furr. He's going to kick off our forum with one of his questions, and then we'll go to your questions submitted via Twitter, YouTube, and email.
So, Dr. Padalino, can you tell me a bit about how the district budget will affect KHS students?
Sure, that's a great question, actually, because there's been a lot of talk about the elementary schools and the middle schools, but there really hasn't been a lot of talk about the things here at Kingston High School. Over the last few years, one of the goals here at Kingston High School, under the direction of Mr. Reinhardt, has been to move toward a cohort model. Everyone knows about the ninth grade academy, but they don't realize that we've really tried to replicate that in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So continuing to provide those supports, to have those kind of self-contained administrative units with student supports for each of those cohorts is one of the things that we've maintained in this budget. Also, this isn't really a budget addition, but this is something we will maintain. We've made no cuts to any programs at Kingston High School. So the advanced placement classes, the college level courses, the music, the arts, all the things that we have had are staying in this budget, which is a really great thing. Many years we've talked about cuts. This year we're talking about maintaining things and actually enhancing other programs.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sam.
All right, now we'll go to a question that was submitted via email prior to the forum from one of the members of the district-wide Parents Council. And this is actually more of a statement. Foremost, I believe our middle schools need to be focus number one. So can you talk about the middle schools in this budget?
Sure. I think one of the things that we really are focusing on in this budget is the middle schools. Between making sure that we continue to keep manageable class sizes there, this budget does put 2 new middle school teachers into the middle school, in particular at Bailey Middle School, where we see an influx of 5th grades. But also adding some things to their programs, like we're adding a music teacher to the middle schools. We're also adding some support in the nurse's office, which sounds like that's kind of off to the side, but the truth of the matter is anyone who's been in a middle school knows those nurses' offices are busy, so we had some clerical support there, as well as some supervision support, monitors in the hallways to help with our teachers and our administrators who walk the hallways and make sure we have a lot of students in our middle school, so to make sure that we can keep an orderly environment and students are safe and getting where they need to go.
Great. We had a question just come in via Twitter from HV Parents. And it says, beyond tech integration, how will the budget provide computer science education for K through 12? Kids shouldn't just use tech, they should create with it.
That's another great question, and I always quote our tech director who says he wants to turn his toys into tools, and that's one of the things we work on. Last year we introduced model schools at the secondary level, which is an embedded professional development program that we work on with Ulster BOCES that really helps our teachers do exactly that, use those toys and make them into tools, really integrate them into the classroom and really deliver the curriculum. This year's budget, we have put in this budget to do that with our elementary schools, to partner with model schools and see if we can help our teachers really use that technology for what it's supposed to be for, which is really delivering curriculum, not just for the wow factor, which is not.
Question via YouTube chat submitted from Kristen Murphy. How does this budget support students with special needs?
One of the things that we are really looking at, and I talk a lot about graduation rate, and one of the areas where our graduation rate hasn't seen the increase, and we saw a great increase in all students and in many of our subgroups, but our students with disabilities graduation rate has still lagged in that, right around that 50%. We want to get that up. One of the things that we did last year was looking at the lower levels in the middle schools, of really working on creating that inclusion model where students are included in the regular classroom, but that they would have instructors in there with them, special education teachers and teachers assistants in those classrooms when the curriculum is being delivered. So we have strengthened that again this year, an addition of another special education teacher. We're also looking outside of that at some of the other supports, school psychologists, social workers. We added a few last year. We're looking to add one of each again this year.
And on that note of social workers, we did have a question submitted. Oh no, not about social workers. Okay, back to our Twitter, a little change of pace. This question says, in the process of purchasing a home in the Kingston School District, how does the tax levy increase benefit me as a future homeowner?
Well, that's welcome. If you're buying a home in the Kingston City School District, we're glad you're here. I think there's so many different things that are going on in the district, and I welcome and invite you, or if you're a real estate agent you're working with, to come over and see some of the things that are going on in the school district. But as far as the tax levy is concerned, one of the things I've been telling people, and I think it's something that's not really well known, is about 53% of the taxpayers in the Kingston City School District are STAR eligible. This budget stays below the tax levy limit, significantly below the tax levy limit at 1.98. Our tax levy limit is 3.37 this year, which makes us tax freeze eligible. So if anyone who is on the who has the STAR exemption will not receive an increase in their school taxes for the third straight year. So that is one reason. One of the things we look at when we're looking to get at or below that tax levy is how does it really meet our goal, which our budget goal, I say over and over again, is to meet the needs of our students, but also look at our community's values and their ability to pay.
And following up with that, we had a question on our YouTube chat. What is the impact of state aid on the Kingston Schools budget?
Well, I mean, there's significant impact on the school budget. About 1/3 of our school district budget is state aid, and we were very pleased this year to see the increase in the state aid from not only from last year but from the governor's proposal. So we were able to realize almost another $2 million in state aid between foundation aid increase, which is our spend, really is the new money in the budget, and the GEA restoration, which we've been pushing for several years. So the state aid is a big part of what we do. When we look at a zero increase in state aid, and we'd be having a much different conversation.
Definitely. Looks like we have a tweet from right here within Kingston High School from Kingston Tiger Cheer, and it says, "There have been some busing issues for many sports teams. Is this a district issue, and if so, is it being addressed?"
That's that's what I spent a lot of time on this yesterday. That's not a budget issue, but I'm glad the questions asked, because I do want to have an opportunity to discuss it. We're struggling with some of our transportation for our after-school activities, in particular sports, and really it's based on a shortage of drivers. We have the bus runs scheduled, we have the contract with the transportation departments, but they can't get the bus drivers. So we're working with them. We're looking at other transportation providers to see what we can do to make sure we can get our students out to their away games. I've sent an email out to my colleagues in the county to see what are they doing, because we're all kind of experiencing this and getting feedback from them. So like I said, it's not a budget issue because that money's there, but it's really a logistical issue and an issue as far as bus drivers are concerned. Another piece of that, and I know this is again off topic, but we don't own the buses, so we contract. Okay. So we have limited control over the hirees and those kind of things. So it's another piece that's kind of out of our control. But we do need to fix it, and we're working on it. And like I said, I spent a really lot of time yesterday, and I know our transportation people are working on it even today.
Okay. Now we have a question on YouTube chat about facilities. Will this budget show monies for maintenance and continue the maintenance of existing buildings, which means necessary upgrades? And is there a line item for maintenance of closed school buildings?
There actually isn't a line item for maintenance of closed school buildings. That's in our general overall maintenance as far as closed school buildings. And right now, we only have the Anna Devine and Mahar that are still in that status. And as everyone knows, Anna Devine is also that we've had an agreement to purchase that, so we're just waiting on a closing. But yes, we've continued to look at the things we're going to do, keeping our building, continuing with our schedule of improvements. Just a couple examples. We're looking at resurfacing gymnasium floors at Kingston High School, Bailey, Miller, John F. Kennedy, replacing shades at Bailey, replacing some worn stage curtains throughout the district, looking at broken risers and things like that have been needed to be replaced over the years. So we're scheduling everything out. We can't do everything at once, and you know that, but we do have our schedule where if this budget allows us to maintain that schedule.
Great. I'm going to go back to some email questions that were submitted, and please continue to tweet in your questions. This is more of a statement or suggestion from an email. Make improvements to our current schools before taking on another initiative like UPK and Mahar.
That's a good point. I think the UPK has been a focus of our Board of Education. It's been a lot of our conversation at board meetings for people who are there or watch on TV. We talk a lot about UPK and how we can expand. We actually have a consultant out doing some research to see how we can expand that UPK, and then looking at the costs of that. I think when we talk about renovating buildings, I think there's some confusion on where certain money comes from. There is a big difference between building aid and operating aid. We can't take our building aid and use it to put in programs and to hire teachers and those kind of things. That's a totally separate pool of money. So it's not kind of interchangeable. If we choose not to do some renovations at Mahar, that doesn't free up that money. That money is only there for building, so it's not there for other things.
Back to our email list, and again, another suggestion. Track children from the get-go. 8th grade is too long to wait.
Well, I think that's, there's different schools of thought, and that's not really in the budget. That's more of a programmatic question than a budget question. I think we have the resources to provide enrichment and extension of learning. How we do that, again, that's something we talk about with our educators. And as far as tracking, we do look at what we like. I mean, people know when you get to the high school and even 8th grade, there's a lot more accelerated opportunities. But really, we're looking at differentiation in the classroom and meeting every student where they are at the elementary level to really move all students in a positive direction.
Okay, and our final email submission is make CALP available to more students. That's another suggestion.
Yeah, and again, that's not a budget issue either. There's been a lot of conversation about the philosophy of what is CALP. Is CALP a true gifted and learning program, or is CALP an enrichment program? So I think that's a conversation we're having with our CALP coordinators, who are our teachers here, and looking and seeing, okay, so if we're going to move CALP to be more of a true gifted and talented, can we then move some of those resources to increase enrichment? And one of the things we did this year to increase enrichment or to increase opportunities for enrichment was extending the learning day at the middle schools. So we have those two different, kind of the A and B enrichment opportunities. So we are looking to take a look at how we're delivering CALP, but also making sure that students who maybe don't qualify to be in CALP will have other enrichment opportunities.
Great. And we have a new question from Twitter from Caitlin. Is there a budget for new classroom furniture in the new buildings, or will the furniture, old desks, etc. be brought over?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. That's one of the things that it's funny because 2 weeks ago we had this conversation in one of our steering committee meetings. The new buildings will all have new furniture. I mean, we're not going to move old furniture into the old buildings. We are right now doing an inventory actually here in Kingston High School of all of our furniture to see what is the stuff that needs to get thrown out, and are there things that can be reused, not necessarily in the new buildings, but maybe somewhere else in the district or even in this building. But there will be new furniture in the new classrooms, yes.
Great. And we have another question from Hudson Valley parents. How does this budget impact class sizes in elementary schools?
That's been a topic for 2 years now. Last year and continued this year, the board has set a goal for there to be, keep that all except for a couple of sections, over 70 sections, K1 and 2, we were able to keep them below the 22 level, other than a couple of sections. And in those sections, we were able to put some support in there for the teachers. But we were looking at 3 new elementary teachers exactly for that reason, to keep those class sizes down. Kindergarten this year, we averaged around 19 students per class, and about half of those classes had 2 adults in there at all times. So I think we're looking to maintain that kind of, and actually we're even looking to improve that ratio.
All right, and we have another question. I know you addressed this before about middle schools, but how this budget impacts the middle schools. And I've heard you speak about how
moving 5th grades there and more expectations in those buildings. And one of the supports we really are looking at are those extra things. One of the questions that the requests from our building principal was some help with attendance, and tardiness. And one of the ideas that we have, and is in this budget, is a social worker who would be assigned to just work with families on attendance and work with our community and our outside agencies to make sure that we get students and parents to understand the importance of attendance and really move that forward on top of the other things that I mentioned earlier with middle school.
Great. It looks like we're up to date on our questions from Twitter, and let me just refresh YouTube. Up to date there. That looks like we're good. So we can wrap up today. Any final thoughts about what makes this budget unique?
I think unique in that we are able to make these other improvements or enhancements to the budget while still dropping our tax levy. and get into below that 2%, which again is not our tax levy limit, but it's still below that 2% and eligible for the tax freeze. One of the things I've been saying over and over, there are no cuts in this budget. Obviously, if we're adding, there are no cuts. There are no cuts. There are no layoffs. Our programs are going to remain. Our sports, our arts, our music, all those things will remain. So it's really a positive budget on many fronts. For the taxpayers, keeping it below the tax levy, and for our students, improving what we have and keeping the things that we know that the students in our community value.
Great. And when is the budget vote this year?
The budget vote is on May 17th.
All right. So please come on out and vote. Thank you for tuning in today and for your questions on Twitter and YouTube. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.